Hi everybody, I've just popped into the studio to do a little bit of education for you from our latest Micro Studio and SVG USB Blissful Haven, which I think is super lovely. And I've been off for a while, so I haven't even seen the new packaging, but I love this. This is really cute. Right, so let's get started. So I printed off my reflections. Make sure that when you're printing, please, that they are at actual size or 100%. Don't do fit to page because then your cutting files won't work. All right, they won't lay over the top. And the ones I chose to use was Blissful Haven Arnold, because he's super cute. This fabulous bunny sat in an armchair reading a book. Reminds me of my dad. Not that my dad had ears that big, but you know what I mean. Then I also chose Olivia and Ollie, and I did those in the small size. So when you buy an SVG USB that's got reflections on, what we do is we do the reflections in different sizes for you. So we always do the original, then we either do a smaller one and a larger one, or a larger one and an extra large. That doesn't mean that that's the only three sizes you can cut them in, because you can cut them in hundreds of different sizes. It just means that we're giving you a starting point, which is great. And then the last one that I chose to use was Blissful Haven Not Too Bright, which is the lights. So what I've already done on my screen is bring in well, I'll show you what I'm going to do, because I'm going to do it right now with Arnold. So you'll notice I've got these two images at the bottom of my screen. Just ignore that for now. Because I've just been getting a little bit prepared, then you're not sitting there watching me delete a load of stuff off. So I want to add now, and I want to add a file that's on the data stick, so on the USB stick. You've got Micro Studio, that's not going to open on your ScanNCut, that's for your computer. And then you've also got SVG, which are your cutting files. So if I go into Arnold now, every time you print one of these off, or you buy a USB that's got reflections on the bottom, it will tell you the name of the collection, it will tell you the name of the image, and then if it will either say small, large, or extra large. If it doesn't say any of those, it's the original. So I know that Arnold is the same size as the die would have been, basically. So we'll go to reflection cuts, because that's what we're doing. We want our original, and I want the reflection cut. So you've got your decoupage in there, you've got your reflection cut, which is your cutting file, and then you've also got a second colorway. So that's not going to open on your ScanNCut either, that will open in your printer. So any second colorways that we've done, we've put on there for you, which is great. So if I go into reflection cuts, it's going to bring up this whole sheet. So when you print it off, you'll have 4 Arnolds and 4 chairs, basically, and then this rectangle. But all I want is one chair. So I'm going to go to edit. I'm going to get rid of the rectangle straight away, because we make sure that these aren't grouped. If they are grouped, when you get them by any chance, if we've done some on a USB in a different way, if you send it into Canvas Workspace, go to edit, and it will allow you to ungroup it. Then you can download it, and then you can start to play around with, I just want that one and I just want that one. So if you are struggling because the file is actually grouped, anything that you send into Canvas Workspace, it will ungroup for you, that comes from Highlight Crafts. I can't say it for everything, because sometimes people save file formats in a different way, but the way that we do it, it will always ungroup. So if you're struggling with that, that's how to do it. But what we want is, I just want this chair here, so I'm going to drag this over here. Now, to get rid of all these in one go, if you just select one of them, and then you go to multiple select, you drag over the pieces that you don't want to be deleted, and press OK, and keep going, and then pop all of those in the bin at the same time. That's much, much, much easier. So I've got the chair, I've got the light, and I've also got the other little bunny. Now, to fit as many as we possibly could on one sheet, we've rotated them. So all you're going to do is go to Object, Edit, and rotate that back 90 degrees. There's also, this one's grouped because I moved it previously. So when you ungroup something, you need to tap the screen to release the shape. I don't need that little bunny there, but I do need the other bit. So I'm going to multiple select part of the mat. I'm going to drag over the shapes that I don't want to be involved, which are those two. I'm then going to press OK and keep going till I get to Object, Edit and group those together. So I've now got my 3 characters that I'm going to be working with to build. It's not a shaped card as in the edges fancy. What I wanted to do was show you how you can add these to an aperture. So if you wanted to make a tunnel card, for example, this is a really cool way of doing it. So we've got our images that we want to work with, which is great. What I want to do now is I want to create an aperture. So I'm going to press OK and keep going. I'm going to go to Add, and I'm going to go into the patterns that are stored inside the machine's memory, because for me, this is where the value comes in with the ScanNCut. Absolutely, the scanner is crucial now for me, but all these inbuilt shapes are a whole digital library, and it's amazing what you can make with these. So we're going to really explore these this year as well, which is super cool. So I'm going to click on here. I'm going to ask it to do the square first, and I'm going to set that to, let's do it at 8 inches, I think. So I'm going to set it on my mat. I'm going to go to Edit, Object Edit, and then I'm going to resize it. Now you can resize here. You can also resize on the original screen. However, if you're doing something like this and you resize on the original screen, if it's too, so for example, when I add a circle, it might not be able to fit it into this space. So you have to make it smaller to then make it larger. If you set it on the mat first and put all your shapes on and then resize them, it's a much easier. So we're going to add. So we will go to Add. We'll go back into the patterns, back into the basic shapes, and we'll scroll down and we'll just pick up the circle. And I'm going to make it a bit smaller. And then we're just going to set it on the mat. Right, now I want this to be about 6 inches maybe. Let's have a look. So we go to Edit and Object Edit, and this is resize. And we're just going to make this, let's go to 6 and see what that looks like. And I have to say, this is so much easier than trying to line 2 dies up one inside the other. Especially when you come to do the next bit that we're going to do. Right, so I'm going to align these, the circle and the square, so that they are perfectly in the center. So to do that, we multiple select part of the map, because remember we've got these little characters down here, so drag over there. And then you're going to move the shape, so you go to your directional arrow buttons, and your alignment function is at the top. And we're going to align it centrally vertically and centrally horizontally. Press OK and group that together. Now, the way that the ScanNCut sees things, and this is the important thing, that right now sees a square with a circle sat on top of it. So if I try and weld something to those shapes, it'll tell me that I can't, or it will delete the circle from the center. So what we have to do is make it see it as a frame. So as one shape, the square with the circle cut out of the middle. So to do that, we're going to Canvas Workspace. And I am going to do a lot more with Canvas Workspace this year, because I found some really cool things. This is what happens when you're off for a while, isn't it? You find all these new goodies, which is super exciting. Right, so I am going to, first of all, press OK and keep going until I get to save. And then I'm going to save it into the cloud. And once I've saved it into the cloud, if I go to my projects and refresh it, there, oh, bear with, no, it's telling me it's including a grouped pattern. So now it will be there. So it's telling me it's grouped in case you want to ungroup it first. So it really does hold your hand. Right, so to make the machine see the square with the circles sat on it, on top of it, to make it see it as an aperture, all you do is go to Edit at the top and go down to Process Overlap here. And there's a button here called Divide. And in my head, it's a digital punch that comes down and punches that circle through that square, which is why you've now got that punch circle. And then this, it now sees as one shape. So now we can weld these pieces to it, which is really cool. So I'm going to get rid of that extra circle, and I'm just going to go straight to download. I'm working on a Wi-Fi enabled machine, so I'm going to go to ScanNCut Transfer. If you're not, you will send it to your PC and then you'll put it on a USB from your PC. Right, so I'm going to get rid of all that now because I've already got it. So I'm going to delete all those. So we're going to retrieve from the cloud, because that's where we saved it. and we wait for it to come through. Right, so now I've got this. So we're going to start having a play with these shapes now. So I'm going to bring in the chair first of all. Actually, I'm going to bring in the light first of all, because I want Arnold to be sat like in an evening setting, maybe with his wife sat opposite him by the fire. I've got a whole little story going on while I'm building this card. So I've got my light up here and I'm making sure that it overlaps onto the actual card base itself. And then I'm also going to position this chair in place as well. So you can have a really good play around with this and decide where you want it to be. It's almost like you're designing it before you cut everything out to see what you like. And then I'd like her to go over there. Now then, with her, these two, those, you saw me group her together because there was another little file that had these two landlocked areas in. If you want those landlocked areas to show on your card front, so you want them cut out, you would send her into Canvas and you would divide her and it will punch those landlocked areas through the actual image, and then you can weld it with the open areas if you like. Right, so I've got this, I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to move her back a little bit like that. So we're going to weld these now. So we go to edit and we multiple select. Now then, just before I do that, sorry, this is what happens with me. That light isn't straight. Now, can you see what's happening because I've got the square over the top, I can't get to the shapes underneath. These are what call your select arrows. So I'm going to use my select arrow. I'm going to go into object edit and I'm going to rotate that so that it's straight. Again, it will be because we have, we've got more on the, we tried to get more on the sheet. That's basically why. So let's pop that about there now. Right, so try again. Let's multiple select everything on the mat, press OK, go to object edit and weld it. Now it's given me that aperture with the light and the chair and the little bunny on the other side, which I think is really cute. So you can see if you were building a tunnel card, what you would then do is cut a smaller circle aperture, but keep the square on the outside the same and add other little characters on. And then your next one, the circle would be smaller and you'd add more in. And because you've got the 3 different sizes of your reflections, you can scale it so you get the perspective right as well, which is super cool. If we hadn't punched through, so if we hadn't divided it, the circle would have disappeared, or the square, it would have said it can't weld because it wouldn't have been overlapping the circle and the square. But now it sees it as a square with a circle cut out of it, it works. It's understanding all these little things and how the ScanNCut sees things and what it needs. So I'm going to weld that because I'm happy with that. So that, if I just bring this in and show you, let's move that mat over there, is there, look. So you've got your light and you've got your chair and you've got your bunny. So if I did this now and bring in these little pieces, we can start to build up this picture. So we've got our chair and that's going to fit perfectly over there. So if you use the mat cuts that are on there, it will be bigger than the actual chair because it's the mat layer. It's a piece that you stick it on top of. So what I've done is use the charisma file or the reflection file rather than the detailed mat cut or the mat cut. So it's up to you whatever look you want. So there's lots of different options. The light can go behind there. So that fits perfectly behind there. And then she can come in and she can sit there like so. So then you could have another one, smaller, lots of detail going in the background. But I wanted to show you how to create like almost like an offset line. So a wider round the outside edge of the square and then smaller coming in. So it's giving you that like a drop shadow, if you like. And this is super easy to do too, because it's the same process as we've just done with the circle and the square. So if I press OK now, and keep going and save that into the cloud again and go back to Canvas Workspace. Now I know I say this a lot on all my different videos, but we get new people all the time. If you have Canvas Workspace open and you send something in there, you will find the file by refreshing. If Canvas Workspace is closed when you send something in, then it will be there when it will be in your projects or my projects as it's called. Right, so I've now got this. So now it sees these shapes sat on top of the square. So all we do again is go to Edit and Divide, and then we move the middle out of the way because that's the bit that we don't need, and we can put that in the bin. And now I've got this piece. So I've got that piece there as well. Put that in the bin. If you're working on a CM machine, I'm just going to show you this because this is different to working on an SDX. The main difference for me with the SDX is obviously the auto blade, but it also has, the SDX has an offset facility in the machine, which the CMs don't, but you can still do the same thing. So if I wanted to do this, what I'm going to do with this is create an outward offset line. And on the ScanNCut SDX, once I've divided something, it will make the outside bigger and the inside smaller automatically. Doesn't work like that on your CM machine, so you do it this way. So we go to Edit at the top with just a square highlighted, and we create a 1mm outward offset line, and we can delete the original because we don't need it. And then we come to here. Now, this square now is over the top, so I can't get to it, and I don't have select arrows in Canvas. So what I have to do is go to Edit, go to Order, and send it to the back. Doesn't change anything on your screen, but when I now click on that, I can get to it. So what we're now going to do with this bit is we're going to go to Edit, and we're going to create a 1mm inward offset line. So inward and delete the original. And then we do the same with this. And we go Edit and we do 1mm inward and delete the original. There we go. So now I can drag all those around there, go to Edit and group it, and then I can divide it again if I decide I might want to weld something else. So you can see that's how you would do it on a CM machine, okay? On an SDX machine, you can just send this to your machine and press a button and it will do that automatically for you. But it's worth knowing both. So I'm going to download, and I'm going to download to my machine. So now I can press Home and delete that. I can retrieve from the cloud. And now I've got my file here ready to go. So this is the original file. So I want to Edit, Object Edit, and this is your offset function. So if you click on this, I'm going to take that down to 1mm. Now I've got this set on inches, but I know that 0.04 inches is 1mm. So I'm dropping it to 1. I'm actually going to take it up to 1.25. That's the other thing that you can do on the SDX that you can't do in Canvas Workspace, is half or 1/4 millimeter increments on your offset line. Its lowest is 1 mil, but you can do 1/4 mil increments, which you can't do on Canvas Workspace. So it's, horses for courses, I guess. Right, so if I press OK now, I've now got my 2 layers. The original one will always stay highlighted. So that's the original one, and that's the matte layer. So what does that look like when it's printed out? So cut out, let me show you. So we've got our original here, and this is the offset, okay? So by making it 1 mil bigger, or 1 1/4 mil bigger, it's made the square around the outside 1 1/4 mil larger, evenly, all the way around. And it's also given me 1 1/4 mil of this brown card, which just creates that shadow and adds a little bit more depth and dimension. Okay, so that's how we've done that bit. Then what I'm going to do is use this. So you can scan this in. This is where the ScanNCut really comes into its own. So let's do that bit now. So let's get rid of those. You would save these, by the way, then. So let's get rid of those, and let's bring on a square again, and let's make it the same size as it was before. So 8 inches. We'll just go a little bit smaller, actually. We'll do just under 8 so that I miss the white edge, because I'm used to working on 12 by 12s now. But the great thing is, and I get asked this a lot, do I always have to use 12 by 12? No, you don't. And the reason you don't is because there's a scanner built in. So you can scan in your pieces of paper, whatever size they are, up to the size of the cutting area of the mat. And you can use all those bits and pieces, all those little bits up. So you tend not to have as many bit boxes when you have a ScanNCut. Although I have to say, if you saw the state of my bit boxes at the moment, you wouldn't believe that. But yeah, I then have a whole day where I just sit and scan things in and cut bits out. Been busy girl. Right, let's do this. So we brought up our shape first, and you must always bring on your shape first. And then we're going to scan. And we're going to scan from here. So it's going to bring a full colour image of this up on the screen. Now, you imagine trying to do this with a different type of digital cutting machine. So you've got your computer open and you've got the cutting file on your computer screen. And you've got your image file on your mat. How do you line the two up? This is why you need a scanner in a cutting machine. It's just genius. Right, so let's make this background lighter so we can see where we're going, and I'm just going to nudge this down like that, and I might make it a little bit smaller still because I want this kind of area down here. I want them to be sat in front of the fire having a cosy night in. That would have been my mum and dad. That my mum sat on a stool either reading a book or knitting, my dad in his armchair with the newspaper pretending not to watch Brookside on television. That's how long ago it is. And me sat there either listening to a story or watching TV. Right, let's cut this out and then we can build our card up. So I just wanted to show you different ways of not just using the files to make a shaped card, but adding them to an aperture. Because once you realise that that's what you can do, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. And I've learned how to split a shape, so you could do a gatefold. I've learned all sorts. Just by playing around, really. And sometimes it's a mistake, you know? And I go, oh, didn't know I did that. And that's the great bit. And, you know, as we're filming this, we're 8.5 years into the ScanNCut journey. And somebody who uses it every single day is still finding new things. That's how good it is. Right, let's do this. Let's build our card now. So we've now got our 2 layers. So I'm going to glue this down for you. And then you can see what it will look like. And once you've done this once, you don't need to do it again. Unless, of course, you're changing the size. But it's just, yeah, it's a really cool way of just doing something different. And like I say, if you were doing a tunnel card, that would be super cool. Right, so I'm looking at the distance between the white and the brown card to make sure I've got it even and all the way around. And the offset line will have done that for me, which is super cool. Because you imagine trying to line up dies to do this. So you'd have your square, then you'd have this piece, then you'd have this piece. And it's so easy on a ScanNCut. And I love dies, I own thousands of them. But for me, this is just a whole different level. Right, so we've got our little story going on here now. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue around here. Someone's cut the nozzle on this. This is out of our training academy and someone's cut the nozzle. It's coming out really thick. Right, so let's position this on here. And let's give that a nice firm press down, and then we can start to build our characters in. So we've got our chair, which we know is going to sit there. We're going to put our lamp in first. And then there's decoupage layers for this as well, don't forget. So you can absolutely go to town and build up all the decoupage layers as well, which will be really lovely. And I think, you know, as a tunnel card, that would look really quite superb, wouldn't it? It would be a mantelpiece pleaser, I believe the trade name is. A mantelpiece pleaser. And this lamp would be nice decoupage because you'd get that curve then. So let's get that lined up. I'm messy with the glue. This is why you don't cut nozzles. Get a pin, okay? Or put the lid on before you walk away at night, which is what I do all the time. Forget to put the lid on. And I come down in the morning and it's all glued. Right. So let's position this here like that. And you're just following that white line, which is super cool. And again, you could add your decoupage layers on. Then we've got our lovely little, gorgeous little bunny here. She's just delightful, isn't she? And I love the position of it because you can see she's in a rocking chair and yeah. This would be lovely in scrapbook pages, I think. You know, for photographs of your grandparents or your great-grandparents or, you know, older family members, that memory of sitting by the fire and having a story read. Right, so let's get her into place there. So she's lovely there. And then we're just going to add some of these little bits and pieces into here. So we'll have the little basket of logs just down there, and I'm just going to tuck it behind there, and I'm also going to tuck it behind my tweezers in here. I'm just going to tuck her behind. Let's have a look. Let's move that over a bit and just tuck that behind there. There we go. So they've got the basket of logs in between them. Let's put some books behind here. So let's get a stack of books, because he's an avid reader, is Arnold, and he likes having his next book ready. Doesn't like to be without a book. So he's got a whole stash. That reminds me of my son, who hated school. I mean, literally hated school, hated reading until Harry Potter books came out. And I remember he got a first edition sent over from a friend in America. And he was like, oh, I don't know if I want to read it. And then he wouldn't go on to the second book, or he wouldn't finish the first book until he got the second book ready. And it just made him fall in love with reading. So it always reminds me of that, having a pile at the side of him, because he had to have them all ready to read. And then Arnold is just going to sit on there. So we'll put Arnold on with a little bit of our glue gel, and just don't forget you can shape these. Now, the other thing I'd like to share with you is, and I know a lot of you know this already, is that when I'm printing and cutting with the ScanNCut, I like to use 140 GSM. 250 for my backgrounds, but 140 for my characters, because it's a straight blade. If you cut on a 250 and you start to build up decoupage layers, you'll get a harsh white edge and it's not attractive. So we make it more attractive by just adding in all the little bits and pieces, and we can put another little set of books here as well. And I love this, that you're getting all these different sizes, so the perspective just works. She might have a little lamp on top of her books like that, which looks really cute, and it also balances, so it's bringing the yellow across as well. See, this is what happens. Get carried away with all this goodness. And I love the fact now with Two Red Robins that the animals have invited us into their homes. Isn't that nice? I love that. Right. So I'm going to just pop that on top of there like that. I don't want it to look like it's floating in midair. So that's going to go on there. Just make sure that that stand is straight, otherwise it'll throw your eye out. There we go. And there you've got your lovely little card front, but you've also got that shape. So you've got that inward offset line there that just brings it forward and pushes everything else back. And if you wanted to, you could actually weld the books to the chair and weld the basket to the, you know, in between them. But it's just a really different way of creating something. And I also like the fact that if you divide it first and then do your offset, the outside edge is slightly larger, so it's already matte layered and ready to go on a card for you. I really hope you enjoyed that, and I will be back very, very, very soon. So keep your eyes peeled and keep a lookout on social for us. Take care, lots of love, bye. If you want to see more from Highlight Crafts, make sure you click the like button. Subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below, and click the bell icon to receive notifications of all our future content. You can also click here to see our latest video, or click here to see more videos like this one.